Our entire financial system is in a really crazy position right now. I mean, take a look at this video.
Our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat, frankly, in 200 years. There will be no defeat like that. That will take us away from being even a great power.
And correspondingly, take a look at what was written here by the JP Morgan CEO. Just in, JP Morgan CEO says governments should seize private property to build wind and solar farms. What? And at the same time, we have all this fear of all this money flowing over to China. And there comes this very fun part in all this. And that's the fact that China has, as far as I'm aware, completely outlawed crypto in almost every single way. I think mostly to prepare for a CBDC, but it doesn't really matter. The interesting part there being that if the US played their role properly, they could take all this volume that's now flowing out and harbor it, get it all. But no, they're not trying to do that. As I said before many times already, right now there's a very important crypto ongoing case within or between Ripple and the SEC, of which the verdict is going to be pretty soon. But as you'll see in a video that I'm showing you in just a second, there's just so much clinging onto this decision that I think the judge is not making a decision quickly because it's the most important rule for crypto at all. But it brings up this earlier point of, well, why exactly is the US against crypto when this could be their big advantage to keep all the money inside of their economy? And I can't really think of anything except when I start reading the JP Morgan type of tweets again of thinking, okay, maybe there's just some way bigger plan behind all this of letting themselves die out, because it must almost be deliberate. You can't be that bad at this policy to screw yourself up over and over and over again, right? Anyway, guys, make sure you press that like button and watch this little clip from John Deaton where he explains how important this Ripple verdict is.
This decision gets bigger and bigger. So I just want you to think about those of you out there who are thinking about this. Why hasn't she ruled yet? What I doubt very seriously that Judge Torres has ever felt the pressure that she's feeling right now. Ripple is sending, hey, Judge, look what the judge in Voyager said. Look what the Judge Gorsuch at the Supreme Court said about fair notice. All of these things are happening after. She's getting more information. Look at the SEC's conduct. Look at Binance. Look at the CFTC. All of this stuff is happening in the background where you got guys like me saying the regulatory clarity is going to come from her. You've got the library decision. You don't think she's aware of all this? So this decision is as big of a decision that this judge has ever faced. Think about it. What other decision is as big as this decision when it comes to global trade and finance in modern history? I've said before that this case is the most significant non-fraud SEC enforcement action since 1946. So that kind of pressure, personally, I don't blame Judge Torres for being very careful of how she words this decision because A, if it goes against Ripple, she knows it's going up to a conservative court. And if it's for Ripple, she has to justify it and all those things. So just be patient. We're almost at the end. Everybody have a great night. See you next week.
So if you watch that little video, it makes slightly more sense as to why she's taken more time than all these lawyers in the community actually expected. It's just unprecedented territory. And again, if you realize everything that's going on in the US right now on the major field, indeed, we're not in normal circumstances, right? We're not in the best of positions where shutting down any sort of innovation would be fine because another industry would pick it right back up. No, it's a situation of if she is the one to give the little love tap on to Ripple's buttocks right here, it could definitely destroy this entire industry in the US. And with everything else that's going on right now, that's a very big decision to make. Moving on, however, there were a couple other interesting articles and titles that came out recently, like for example this right here. Just in, 3 US congressmen introduced gold standard bill to stabilize the US dollar's value, as again, they have to think of something. A little fun piece that I think a lot of you guys also did not know about is that apparently, and again, I cannot confirm because I'm too lazy to look it up myself, but apparently the Bitcoin white paper is hidden on every Apple MacBook computer running the recent versions of Mac OS software. And a couple of articles were also saying the exact same thing. We can see on Cointelegraph, Bitcoin white paper is apparently hiding in Apple's modern Mac OS, which is wildly cool. This led a lot of people to speculate, is it, that Apple is actually secretly behind Satoshi or something? Was this all one big scheme? Was this all made up from some way? It's interesting to think about. Why exactly did Apple do this? Did the Apple, I guess, execs not notice some dev put it in as a little Easter egg? Was it from Apple's head of policy to put it in as an Easter egg? Because I'm thinking, well, all these things get researched properly, right? But even in major companies like this, very often the supervisor might not exactly understand one of these files that's in there because there's a lot of people working on them, if you know what I mean. Like with the hierarchy that's going on, you might miss some things, especially if it's a document of sorts that's in there supposed to be some sort of manual. Yeah, they might not check the exact contents of that manual and might not have Control F or whatever for Bitcoin. I understand. At the same time, by the way, some other good news is that MicroStrategy is actually picking themselves up a ton of Bitcoin still right now as we speak. I just saw an article that said this: MicroStrategy acquires another 1,045 Bitcoin, bringing the total holdings to 140,000, which is actually crazy. I'm thinking that's about 0.6% of the entire supply that this one company holds. Starting to get pretty wild, right? And with regards to the Bitcoin price, right now, as you guys can clearly see, we again had a rejection over at roughly $28.6, $28.7 thousand. Over on the weekly, things are a little bit more positive, but still not completely in the clear. We just have a very important hurdle to get over. And funny enough, Ethereum has actually broken out like we discussed a little while ago. I honestly did not expect it, but it could actually be coming for this top that Ethereum made a little while ago back in July of 2022 at roughly $1,920, as that is also where this week ended a little bit earlier. XRP, as we can see right now, it got above the 200 weekly moving average. It closed above there, but this week has not actually sustained those prices too properly. What I mean with that is right now we are fighting this battle at the 200 weekly moving average, but the way in which it seems right now, it does not look as if we're going to get a crazy positive close. But again, I may be surprised as it's only Thursday. And on the overall market cap, we're in some negative territory today, but I'd say still quite neutral because we had such a positive week before. What I mean with that is even though today we're like at -3 for a lot of these cryptos that I can see right now, it doesn't feel as negative because we had so many positive days here in the midst. And so we're down, let's say 3% from the local high of a couple weeks ago. To get to new price discovery, to get to these old prices, you have to have pullbacks every now and then. And so the price action that we're seeing right now, albeit not too good, because Bitcoin saw a major rejection yet again for the so manyth time, after in this case here hitting about $29,000. Since it failed to make the close yet again, every single time the push, at least in this case here, gets a little bit weaker. You can see the first time that we got to that territory, there was massive amounts of volume. But right now, even though the prices are actually increasing, like you can see quite clearly, meaning the bears have less power than before, there's also less buying power as we see it right now. We still have yet to break the actual structure in a sense of, even though we keep getting rejected and the volume is definitely decreasing, hopefully you guys can see that too, it's not as if we've made a crazy new breakout towards the downside where, again, our next target is going to be this moving average of roughly $25.5 thousand or so. For that, we'd still have to get a little bit of a breakdown, potentially below 26.8, before I'd actually be looking for a short towards 25.6. Right now, many people are trying to make these short-term squeezes, short-term moves, and we actually, as far as I remember, still have a short position open that started at roughly $28.7 thousand. And the reason I have that is because I will pivot the moment that we break above, the moment that we get a proper close above. I'll pivot to opening some long positions for, the longevity for the way upwards. Right now, it seems more likely of us breaking down rather than upwards. And so on the short term, I'm more bearish. Then again, there are only a couple announcements I'm thinking of here, like for example, Elon Musk going a little bit crazy. That could definitely propel the crypto market upwards. But for the most part, it's just those bulls coming together to blast through. And so, as I said, we're keeping the short position open, but we're keeping ourselves ready to pivot into a long position, as our short has already made a considerable profit, and we could just easily close it in a little bit of profit as well. I talked to you guys about all our targets a little while back, but again, keep in mind that we might pivot over to a long position not too long from now if prices indeed get back towards these levels here at roughly 28.7 or so, and we see some continuation of the move towards the upside, which we're not seeing right now. And again, the moment that we break, let's say 27.5 or so, I'm going to be thinking of actually adding towards my short positions, because we might actually want to short a little bit further towards the 200 weekly moving average, but we'll have to see as we get closer to that price region. Anyway, guys, that was it for today's video. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you press the like button and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys again in another crypto video, hopefully later today, maybe tomorrow, we'll see. But again, make sure you press the like button. See you guys later.